In today's video, we answer the question, can you rely on one strategy forever? Markets evolve now. Should you evolve with the market? That's the big question we're going to answer here in today's show. Is a dynamic approach to trading better than a rigid strategy, which has the chance of that edge eroding over time? We're going to introduce you to Ali, our Dynamic Traders Club beta tester, who will help answer the question for you as he transitions from a rigid strategy trader to a dynamic price reader. Let's dive in. So, Ali, to start off with, tell us quickly about your trading journeys today, or even before you sort of started this dynamic trader stuff.
Yeah, all right. So, I've been in and out of this for a few years, but the last couple of years I started taking it a bit more seriously. I've probably done a fairly typical journey of testing out a few different approaches and strategies. And my journey really led me towards trying to find a strategy or strategies that gave me an edge that worked in history. And I kind of hoped they would then continue to work through the future. And I would, so I'd do a lot of back testing, find something, and generally they all sort of petered out over time. At one point, I actually randomly met a taxi driver, in fact, who was an ICT trader. And he said to me, just go and follow it, just go and learn this, go and do the 2022 mentorship. So I did that, and that kind of has given me kind of a fundamental basis of kind of my knowledge. And then around that time, I'd kind of discovered your podcast, and I was trying to absorb what I could from your guests. I joined a community, a really, really great community. I joined and sort of developed my knowledge further, primarily around risk management side of things. And from that point, I was able to build a strategy that I've been quite happy with, and I've been using to try and pass challenges. But it's very slow. And I was at peace with that, fine with that. If it takes me a year to pass, it's fine. As long as it gets me there. And so that's where I'd got to, and I was just happy sort of plugging away with that strategy and that approach until I stumbled across your YouTube video back in July with a strategy that you had sort of published on one of your videos.
Yeah. So you gave it a go. I mean, it's interesting. So, when we first met, I think you'd said you're passing funding challenges, but you couldn't profit from them. You couldn't make a withdrawal. Can you quickly tell us what the issue was around? If you can pass it, in theory, you'd sort of think that you'd be able to make a withdrawal. What's happening there?
So I'd got to the point where I was, I had a couple of challenges on the go. I'd passed like a couple of phases on them. I hadn't yet got to the point where I'd passed one to make a withdrawal. But it was a matter of time, basically. So it was taking me probably, I think three or 4 months to pass like a phase of a challenge. And so I was, I don't know, 4 or 5 months in, and I'd got through a couple. So basically I was there, and I think I would have got there eventually. I think
so it was very slow burn, wasn't it? It was, I think when you first met JJ and spoke to him, you said you were making maybe, was it 3% a month? Was that right?
No, like 0.5%.
0.5% a month.
So yeah, if you got to make 5 or 6%, actually, it must have been more than half a percent.
It might have been. It has to have been.
Yeah.
Okay, so it was quite low, and that's taking a month. And I mean, how many hours a day would you be spending at the charts and market trying to take these trades to make that 0.5%?
Well, it was very light. I had designed it because I do have a full-time job, and so I had to basically dip in. I have a short amount of time before work. And so I had to sort of build this thing that was pretty set and forget. So I'd place my trades, and it was kind of minutes really. I'd sit there for longer because I'd do some extra stuff, some learning and stuff. But the actual placing of my trades I could do in minutes, like first thing in the morning, and then I would have to just leave them to it and check them either the next day or maybe in the evening if I had a chance.
Okay, and so this thing was it was sort of rooted in ICT, yet it was quite a different take on ICT, and in fact, it was one of the previous guests, and we won't say who it was at this stage because I know you're well entrenched in this community and quite well known there. So it's interesting. So you then left that or decided to make it a leap into this other strategy that we released on the show, which was kind of simple and mechanical, which is a lot of what JJ does. I mean, can you tell us why you decided to actually give it a go in the first place?
It's hard to remember because I look at a lot of your videos that you publish, and I being honest, I kind of avoid some of them because I've got to that point where sometimes you receive too much, right? And if you watch all of it, you then get new things coming in that distract you. So this video must have been a particularly strong bit of clickbait for me and appealed to me. But I thought it was probably because I think in the title you'd written it was your mentor strategy, and I thought, oh, this sounds interesting. And at the time, I'll probably pick up my old strategy again someday. It was still good, and I still like the fundamentals of it, and I was still plugging away with it. But you'd kind of set this challenge of testing this new strategy for a week, and I thought, oh, I'll do that. That'll be fun, and I did it. 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock every morning for a week, sent you the results in, and I just really liked the strategy. I thought it was really cool. I got quite a few setups in that space of an hour every morning, and I think I basically just started pestering you for more information. I was asking for more rules and things because you'd alluded to the fact that there was a bit more to it. It turns out what you shared was about 1% of what there is, but I pestered you, and you gave me a bit more and more, and as I started to realise actually that there was some potential here for me, and I think it was all coming at the right time for where I was on my journey.
Yeah, it was a big debate that we had, like in terms of how much extra stuff do people really need to know to make a simple strategy work in the long term, right? And where we got to was you do need a fair chunk, and that's what you've been going through recently. So we've been beta testing the material the teachings of JJ with Ali. So he's been going through and having a look at that. And we've even been toying with how we go about teaching this, because what we noticed when we first went through, and we mentioned it before on the show, was we gave everyone the information, and all you guys kind of just ignored it to a certain degree and picked and chose and said, oh, I'll take that one. I like that. I don't like that, so I'm not going to bother. Whereas JJ's view was like, well, you kind of need to do it all, because otherwise you will get screwed over at some point going forward. If you skip corners, take shortcuts, and that kind of thing. So, can you give us some insight into like what it's been like sort of going through this process of, I suppose, having some, YouTube knowledge of, and, taking a course of what, a strategy or fixed strategy, learning fixed strategy and trading that versus this dynamic approach, which is what you've been learning in the last, few months. Can you give us that sort of correlation between how you sort of pick, I suppose, position both of them and your thoughts on both of them?
Yeah, so I think the main kind of thing here that I've found is that compared to anything else I've come across in my time as a like learning to trade, none of the information out there, or none of the courses really talk about what to do once you're in a trade. There are traders out there doing stuff and managing trades and adjusting things as they go. But most of the information out there is like, let's use ICT as the example. It's great. It's fantastic information, and there's people out there doing great things with it. But it teaches you kind of fundamentally to get a bias in the market and an entry model. And usually you're then left to kind of find your own way, create a strategy that works. And it might be like a fixed 2-to-1 reward, or it might be always target the high of the previous hour or whatever it is. But once you're in a trade, there's not a lot really going on. There's at least for me, as far as I got, there was quite a bit of hope. It was like, I'm in this trade now, and it's either going to be a loser or it's going to be a winner. And the kind of the mental side of things, the psychology side of things is quite hard there, because you're having to just be really disciplined, really patient, and just wait. It's going to be a winner or a loser, and you can kind of get yourself there mentally. With this approach, it's about knowing exactly what's going on before, during, and after your trade. So you get in a trade, and you're much more focused on the candles. You're reading every candle and taking information from the screen and making decisions based on that information in real time. And so if the information you had at the beginning of the trade was telling you to enter the trade, and then one candle later it tells you, hang on a minute, something's changed, you can act upon that information. You can either get out, or you can move your stop, you can take a little bit of profit. All these things you can do, and basically, as the name suggests, you can be much more dynamic. In real time. You can take action based on what is happening right there in front of you, and as a result, all in all, compared to anything I've done before, I'm able to reduce my losses, so that eventually I intend to hopefully never really take a full loss. If I take a loss, it's going to be a small loss because I've seen it go against me. And then on the win side, it's about learning to let it go when it's telling you to let it go, and let them run. Take bits of profit at certain points if it seems like the right thing to do based on the information you have on the screen, and maximize it. So reduce losses, maximize wins. I mean, there's loads of people out there that talk about it, but I haven't really seen anybody teaching it in as like comprehensive way as you guys are.
Hey, start trading forex, indices and commodities with up to 800k of Blue Guardian's capital risk-free. Just pay a small one-time fee to take the challenge, hit a profit target and get funded. Then keep up to 90% of your profits and enjoy fast weekly payouts. Now for futures traders, Blue Guardian Futures offers up to 450k in funding with 100% profit on your first 15k. With low targets, no activation fees and unlimited resets, it's one of the best deals in the industry. Visit blueguardian.com or blueguardianfutures.com to start trading today and grab their limited time discount code. Yeah, it is very comprehensive, and it's that example you gave of like getting out at the high. So the problem comes when it almost gets to the high and it doesn't quite get there, and it fails for whatever reason, and it comes all the way back and takes you out, and you're like, well, man, I was up 2.5R, but I was going for that like high and it never got there. But in this case, you've got I suppose tactics to use, or mini micro strategies to put in play that go, right, now's the time I need to think about getting out, or really tighten those stops right up. And you're either going to get stopped out for a good profit, or you're possibly going to stay in the trade and actually get even more profit than that high that you were targeting. So that it has those benefits for sure. And also on the flip side, when things are going wrong, you can usually spot it pretty quickly. And the other benefit I find is you do tend to get more chances at getting in a trade versus having to wait for so long for the perfect setup for all these things to align and what have you. I mean, do you want to talk to us about that? Any struggles you had in the early days of doing this? So just to put it into perspective for everyone, so Ali started off like in the deep end. We gave him all the information. He started trading it on like day one after receiving the first video, which had everything in it, and it was way too much. Started trading on day one, and then traded it for about 3 or 4 weeks, I think it was. And then after that, we realized that we've got to really kind of force everyone to go through this learning curve. So do you want to talk to us, explain your sort of experience with when you first started and staying in trades and that kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, you guys basically gave me a can of worms, opened it on my lap, and told me to deal with it, and it was great, but it was kind of overwhelming, because you sort of did a 2-hour webinar type training session, and I had a couple of pages and notes, and it was a lot of new information for me. There was some completely new concepts that I hadn't ever really touched upon. And like I say, I just went and started trying to play around with it, but I had too much to try and really really execute upon. And the result was, as you said a couple of minutes ago, it basically looked like I'd ignored most of what you'd said. I hadn't ignored it. I was just trying my best to like apply 10 new things all at the same time. And so that was probably my biggest challenge. It was just applying loads of new concepts. And so what I started to do then was I started to I made some decisions about what I needed to put to one side for now, and started with like one layer at a time. Like the first concept, right? I'm going to trade that. I'm going to practice it and practice it and practice it. And then when I feel like that's jumping out of the screen at me and I'm seeing it and I can execute accurately when it happens, I can then add in another layer. So I started to build in my own kind of layered approach. And, I'm still at kind of pretty basic level. Currently I'm paused because some personal things in my life, but I'm basically now learning that layered approach from the material that you're putting together, which is much more controlled in its release of information, if you like.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of when I first got a golf lesson. And it was from a guy that wasn't a proper professional. He sold me the golf clubs, and he'd turn up and, I'll give you some free lessons across your lunchtime when I was working. So I turned up there and he gave me like 20 different things to change in my swing. And I tell you what, talk about ruining a swing for 2 decades. That's what he did, because I couldn't do all 20 at the same time, especially swinging a golf club. And this is kind of what we did with you with that 2-hour like intensive class. Was here's everything, now go and make it all work together. And I think it was never going to people were never going to be able to take all of that on board and know it to a certain degree, which is why we've got Ali going through and doing assignments on each of the elements and basically trying to burn the stuff into his brain so it becomes repetitive, and you see it and you just know exactly what it is and you don't need to think about it. What about if you had to kind of compare, the benefits of this approach versus what you were doing before? I mean, can you sort of give us like, top 3, top 5 benefits versus pros and cons, I guess, even? Because there are obviously cons that come with it as well.
So benefits. I think so. So firstly, one is that you can. I think you can apply this to anything basically. So I look at my old strategy, if you like, and I can apply these concepts to that now. We might go through some examples later, but I can see on those charts where I could have got more profit, or I could have got out sooner when it was a loser. So this can be applied to any strategy. So if someone really loved their strategy and just wanted to maximize it, then this could be applied there. I think one of my sort of favorite things, or one of the nicest feelings you get from trading in this way, is that you are taking action and knowing why you've done it. Like, you're not just taking action because you're at 2R or because you hit your stop loss. You are taking action because there's information there that you now understand, and it's telling you to take action. Like, there's no better feeling than, you hope every trade's going to go to 10R, right? But it goes to 1R and you go, something here is like, there's information that's telling me I've got to get out here, or I've got to at least move my stop to where I am. And then it hits your stop, you're out of the trade, you might have taken, 0.8R. So, it's not setting the world alight, but then you watch it and it shoots down and you've done the right thing. There's no better feeling than seeing that you've done the right thing based on information. And then, it's just great like that. And so then, taking that example again, the flip side, you take that action, you're acting on probabilities here, right? Nothing is ever perfect. So you're acting based on the likelihood of something going wrong here means that I should move my stop. So I move my stop, and then of course it shoots up, and you go, it took me out, but then it's gone on, and I could have got way more profit. Now, the nice thing about this approach is that you don't have to wait long to just go again. So you can feel a lot less kind of frustrated. It's not like, oh, I'm going to have to wait till tomorrow now for another one. You can get another one in 10 minutes time. So that's another nice thing about it.
And so, like, in terms of that sort of mindset thing, you know, when you do see those shoot off, or you decide that, okay, I'm not going to take the setup because I can see that, you know, something's not right or it's not meeting one of the rules. When you could take it, and if you did take it, and yet all of a sudden that goes off, and it's like, well, I didn't take that setup, and the damn thing's gone to the moon. Can you talk us through those kind of psychological things? Have you had any issues with that, or, you know, to get over some of those?
I think this is an issue that I think a lot of people have, and I definitely have. I haven't conquered. Sometimes there are just times where you want to take a trade, right? And you have to really reset yourself, make sure you're in the right frame of mind to know whether you're trading based on information or based on like some other external factor that makes you think, I really want to take a trade today. And that is a demon that I guess I'll continue to battle forever. So I think that is still a factor here. But the way this approach works is that you're a lot less bothered about not taking one. You're a lot less bothered about FOMO, basically. Like, FOMO is a massive thing in trading, and you're not so worried about missing out on a trade because there's going to be another one. Like, if it's going to be, if it's not in the same hour, it's going to be today, and so you're always going to get another one. And whether that's because you decide not to take one and it goes to the moon, or you get out early and it goes to the moon, it doesn't matter. And that massively helps with psychology, because it basically takes the psychology out in a way.
Well, why don't we ask JJ, like, you're in here as well. What are your thoughts on how you overcame that kind of whole, like, I've got to filter out these things and accept the rules? I mean, geez, you came up with them. So for you to then go, I came up with this rule, I'm now going to like religiously not break my own rule that I came up with, versus change my rule and then take these trades. How did you manage to get over that?
Great frustration. Obviously, I never had anybody to. I never had a mentor. I never had anybody to ask. All I had was me and a bunch of screens, charts. I had to battle my way through it with great determination, I suppose, believing that there was a way forward, and having to find my own way in this. What was in my early days, when looking at a chart or any chart on any time frame, to me it was just didn't make any sense. It was a jumbled mess. But I slowly started to put the pieces together. When I got so far down the line of doing that, and based on what Ali was just talking about, I soon realized you didn't have to wait that long for a trade. It's so demoralizing to wait, a long period of time. Some people might wait a week or a month or whatever it is for their trade to come around. When you know you don't have to wait very long, that was a breath of fresh air to me. However, it didn't come from just having sort of one setup. What Ali is talking about here is being able to take this approach and apply it to anything, any strategy. When you can do that, it doesn't matter really what your setup, the rules of your setup actually is. You can still apply the same information afterwards, and you can do it in relatively rapid succession. But yeah, it took me a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get there. It really did.
Cool. All right. Cool. Well, look, last probably question of the show here, Ali. Like, just over to you. I mean, for somebody listening who's struggling with their trading at the moment and their current approach, I mean, what would you sort of say to that person, knowing what you know now? Hey folks, what a view behind me. I'm at Black Bull Markets headquarters here in Auckland, New Zealand. Speaking of views, you can get TradingView paid plans for free at Black Bull Markets, saving you up to $600 a year. That's right, get either the Essential, Plus or Premium plans absolutely free, and all you need to do is trade from one lot a month at Black Bull Markets. And you can also get a 100% deposit bonus for your first deposit up to $1,000. All you need to do is click the Trading Nut link in the description below.
I think if I could say to someone, trade as you trade and take a note of how much of the chart like paints on the screen and you have no idea what it's telling you while you're in that trade, and like just make a mental note of that and say, like, okay, I'm going to trade for an hour. For 55 minutes of that hour, it was painting candles and I didn't know really what they were telling me. Some of them, I saw some pin bars, I saw some really strong bulls, but I didn't really know whether I should act upon them. And then think to yourself, would it be useful if I could know what they were telling me? Because that essentially leads you to this kind of approach. It's, would it be useful to be more dynamic and know whether I should get out sooner or hold on for longer? That would probably be my advice.
It's a great way to sum it up. I couldn't have done it any better myself, to be honest. Now, look, what we're going to do, folks, is we're actually going to have a look at Ali's prior strategy. So the one he was trading before he started doing this stuff, the Dynamic Traders Club. And we're going to break it down. So I've got JJ in the house as well. So we're going to do another video on that. So that should be linked up above. Go and check that out now whilst you're here on the channel.